Donald Trump is expanding his executive power, trying to trample all over Congress, trying to appoint people in key positions so that they can take Jimmy Kimmel off the air. But I do want to say...
So what do you want? What do you want big government here in New York? Why is that something that we should advocate for?
We just want the government open.
You don't know my position on New York.
Progressive host Adam Mockler appeared on the Abby Phillips Show, with Sarah Seidner filling in for Abby, as part of a panel that also included right-wing commentator Lydia Moahan, Arthur Idala, and Ashley Allison, discussing the ongoing government shutdown and its impact on flights and SNAP benefits. And we're going to watch clips from the show while I share my thoughts on the discussion.
In just hours, the Trump administration will slash flights at 40 of the nation's busiest airports, including major hubs like New York City, Chicago, Atlanta. Delta, United, American, and Southwest have already grounded hundreds of planes for tomorrow, and that number expected to grow the longer this stalemate drags on. All of this has been putting a massive strain on the people whose jobs it is to keep us safe in the sky. Air traffic controllers are stressed to the max, understaffed, and now working without pay. Resignations, we hear, are happening daily.
They're calling in saying, I don't have enough gas to get to work, to their employer, to their supervisor and manager, and saying, what do you want me to do? They're not calling in sick. They're not calling in protest. They're calling in with real life situations. These are real people dealing with real life circumstances. And when you don't pay somebody for 37 days and say, hey, just keep showing up and do your best, people are going to have issues, and they're mounting daily.
And if you're wondering whether things will get better, here's a warning from the vice president.
The American people are unfortunately about to start suffering some very real consequences because of the shutdown.
People are already suffering, and they have been very clear about that. And look who we have at the table. No one is going to suffer fools tonight, as I understand it. I'm going to start with you, Arthur. We are hearing this. You know what ended the last longest shutdown in our history? Air traffic control calling out and having it be a nightmare for travel. Is this going to be the key that pushes Congress to do its job?
I think absolutely. 2 weeks ago, I had to travel at like 7 o'clock on a Saturday morning. The airport here in New York, it was packed. I mean, packed. Thank God I have TSA and clear, so only took me half an hour. But when I got there, I asked the TSA, I go, what is going on? And she's like, well, only half of us are here. She's like, we're not getting paid. We're here voluntarily. Yours truly is supposed to travel this Saturday morning with a 9-year-old and a 3-year-old, domestically, but from a New York airport. Trust me, my wife, who's not really a political person, that flight gets canceled. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. There's going to be people freaking out. And my heart breaks because those people who have gone this long without a paycheck. Listen, I run a small business. I'm now 57, but at 37, 20 years ago, I was living paycheck to paycheck. I really was. Luckily, I had mommy and daddy if things got a little tight, but a lot of people who are 37 have children. They don't have mommy and daddy. So I agree with you. I think this will be what brings these two sides who should have the wherewithal, the intelligence to put their egos aside, to put their politics aside, and to do what they're there for, and to serve the people of the United States of America and get people paid, get people fed, and get things moving.
Allison, what do you think the chances are with the Democrats having this sort of big blue wave that they just had? I do that to you every time. It's okay. Ashley Allison, and I call you Allison every time. There's a lot of love. But Ashley, what do you make of this idea that Democrats are saying, look, let's go ahead and talk about insurance. Let's get this done, and then we will help you reopen the government. Is that going to fly?
I don't know. All I'll say is that I actually agree with Arthur tonight.
What?
Because...
Agree with me a lot.
Do I?
Yeah.
Okay.
Especially when it comes to hair. We do the whole hairstyle thing together.
I think you're right, though. I think both sides will come together. The reality is, though, they could have come together a month ago, but Republicans didn't want to. Democrats were saying, negotiate with us. You don't have enough votes to keep the government open. You don't have enough votes to do it your way. You have to negotiate. You don't have a mandate across all of it. Now, here's the funny thing, though, the backdrop. What's today? Thursday? 2 nights ago, Mamdani wins, and we're told he's going to turn the city into a place where you don't have groceries on the shelves, where people can't put gas in their car. You actually know where that's happening? Under government rule, with the White House being under Republican rule, with the White House being Republican rule, with the Senate being Republican rule, with the House being Republican rule. And what do we hear from the FAA? Is that there are people who can't afford to put gas in their cars because they're not getting paid. You're worried about Mandani being a socialist. Let me finish. You're worried about Mandani being a socialist. I'm worried about the Republicans governing.
This is why actually Republicans don't like big government, because it is extremely unreliable, and that's why they don't want more government the way that Mamdani is proposing. But
they're in charge.
Lydia Moahan delivered the familiar big government line we often hear from MAGA and Republicans, claiming they oppose government spending. Yet in reality, they favor big government for themselves while denying it to regular Americans. For example, aid to Argentina began at $20 billion, ballooned to $40 billion, and now reports suggest it could reach $60 billion. While programs like SNAP and other benefits for everyday Americans are dismissed as too costly, and most people don't even know about the billions sent to foreign countries, often influenced by donors or lobbying, while Trump proudly touted a $1 trillion defense budget in a single year, proving that the idea that Republicans are against big government is a long-standing lie, as massive amounts of taxpayer money have gone into lavish projects and perks for Trump and his family, including issues like unpaid workers and disputed funding during White House renovations, supposedly labeled as privately funded.
That, Arthur, the Democrats are listening to you. The issue is, if you're listening to the mainstream media, 87% of coverage for the Democrats has been positive during the shutdown. So they look at this, they think they're winning. Schumer thinks every day that passes is better for him. The minority whip talks about having leverage. And they don't really have the incentive now, right? They look at the margins that they won in Virginia, where lots of angry government employees turned out to vote for Spanberger, and they think, I don't want to give this up. At the same time, Axios is reporting that House Democrats are putting tremendous pressure on Senate Democrats not to cave, not to compromise, or they will have, quote unquote, hell to pay. So I don't think Democrats are in a position where they are interested in negotiating based on everything that's being reported and that we're hearing from them.
Democrats are absolutely about to negotiate. There's reporting today that they're ready because they have leverage. First of all, I just want to say, the idea that the Republican Party is the party of small government, as you claimed, is a joke under this administration. Donald Trump is taking stakes, active stakes in multiple companies. Donald Trump is expanding his executive power, trying to trample all over Congress, trying to appoint people in key positions so that they can take Jimmy Kimmel off the air. But I do want to say...
So what do you want? What do you want big government here in New York? Why is that something that we should advocate for?
You don't want the government open.
You don't know my position on New York.
I want the government. The Republicans have voted 14 times to open the government.
Let me just finish. Republicans have voted 14 times to strip health care away from millions of Americans. It is incredibly, incredibly obvious who has the moral high ground in this government shutdown, and it's the Democratic Party. They are just trying to prevent millions of Americans from being kicked off of health care.
Who put the sunset provision for ACA subsidies?
Republicans negotiated.
That was Democrats.
Republicans negotiated that in.
Who put the sunset provision for ACA?
Do you understand how negotiation works in Congress? Two sides have to come together. The Republican Party.
This would be the first time that we wouldn't have a clean CR passed. This is the bill that Schumer and everyone else agreed to back.
The Republican Party was the party that came in.
Why aren't they committing to it this year?
Listen, the Republican Party.
Why can't they commit to it this year?
The Republican Party was the party that didn't want permanent credits. Number one. Number two, the reason why Democrats are. Number one, just holding off is because millions of Americans are about to get kicked off health care. It's incredibly simple. It's super simple.
They put in the sunset provision.
Because Republicans asked them to.
Let's quickly talk about some of the things, because we just hear from J.D. Vance, who said, look, people are about to start feeling this. But people are feeling this, not just the federal workers who are in dire straits, but everyday Americans as well who use things like SNAP. A federal judge has come out and said, listen, you have to pay full SNAP benefits. You have to do it now. This is an emergency. What do you make of that, Lydia? With the Trump administration, like, oh, we're going to pay partial money into the SNAP fund, but we're not going to pay the full thing. And the judge is saying, no. I am ruling that you need to pay this in full. People are hurting.
My understanding is they don't have the funds to pay it in full. The emergency funds they have are not enough to cover it for this entire month.
I'd guess Lydia Moahan probably identifies as an America First supporter, yet the claim that there's no money for SNAP is both absurd and false, because funds could easily be redirected from elsewhere, like foreign aid to Israel or Argentina, prioritizing Americans at home instead, while even the defense budget, whether it's $1 trillion or $800 billion, highlights the massive spending choices that leave essential domestic programs underfunded.
That's why they keep pushing to try and open the government. And I think the idea that somehow a federal judge can order the executive branch to pay, why can't that same judge then ask the Democrats to reopen the government?
Well, because the executive branch was the one that said they weren't going to use the contingency money.
I mean, again,
not
there's
gonna
a
use any
debate
of the
about the
funds.
emergency
They're not
fund.
gonna
They
use-
already have actually provided some
But the
funds.
reason why the federal judge doesn't have to tell Congress is Congress already approved the money and is now in the executive. This is how the government works. And so the executive is saying that they don't want to release those funds because of big government, actually. And the judge is saying, in an order of checks and balances, you can't do that, Mr. President. You actually don't run. You're not a king. You actually have to release the funds that Congress has already approved because we have 3 branches of government. That's actually why.
Can I just ask, to either of the Republicans on this panel, would you rather see this government shutdown end in Trump's preferred way, which is terminating the filibuster, or Democrats' preferred way, which is extending health care? What do you say?
First of all, I'm not a Republican.
Then what do you
Then
what do you say? I want to see what do you say?
I ran for city council as a Democrat in the city of New York.
Okay,
Lost by 100
Then I want to ask you, what do you say about
but
that?
I'm a New Yorker.
Okay, answer my question then. Answer my question then. Answer my
these
question.
labels, you know why we are where we are?
Answer my
Because of what you
question.
just did. I'm going to answer your question. But this is why we are where we are. Because we've become so partisan. We've forgotten about the people who don't put gas in their car. We've forgotten about the people who can't feed their kids. We're more worried about here's why the Democrats are not motivated to settle this. Because history will say, under Donald Trump, it was the longest government shutdown.
The second
it'll be now.
Yes,
we're getting there. We're getting there.
So for the Democrats, it's going to be down on his scorecard. I wish Congress would go to their home districts and see the people suffering.
You want to know who
and
is?
then come back to Washington and then make their decisions.
Somebody is, and it's Marjorie Taylor Greene, and she's taking the sides of the Democrats actively. She has talked to her constituents, and she said their health care premiums are about to skyrocket. So, again, one party clearly has the moral high ground. Let me ask the same question. How should the shutdown end? The way that Trump wants it
It
to
should
end?
end that it always. There's one way it typically has always ended.
Negotiation.
Under Biden.
Thank you. That's what I'm
under
saying.
Biden,
Negotiation.
It always ends with a clean
With
CR.
negotiation.
No.
I reject your premise of your two false.
Donald Trump wants to terminate the filibuster. Democrats want to extend health care credits. Which of these sides would you choose?
I reject that premise.
Okay,
I
so-
think the way that the government has always opened is passing a clean CR. That's what Republicans did under Biden. That is what.
Just because it's
They'll
always
get
been
it
done doesn't mean it always has to be done. That's their way.
We're dealing with a president who operates far outside the norms of previous administrations. Even defying court orders, so expecting things to follow the usual pattern is a mistaken assumption on Lydia Moahan's part. While Adam Mockler tries to hold her accountable, yet the MAGA guests on Abby Phillips' show, whether Lydia Moahan, Scott Jennings, or Ben Ferguson, consistently deflect and spin the conversation, always bringing up Joe Biden as if that answers every question. And in my view, while I have many issues with the Democrats, if they simply give in, Republicans will continue cutting subsidies and withholding funds, claiming, as Moahan did, that the money was spent abroad. And now I want to hear from you. Do you side with Adam Mockler and Ashley Allison, or with Lydia Moahan and the MAGA commentators, blaming the Democrats and asking, what about Biden? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe.